Check out FlipsideGaming.com for all your gaming needs. Use the promo code HEROES to save 10% on all orders over $10. Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to another edition of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. And we have a lot to talk about again this week. Innistrad Midnight Hunt previews have had an impact on some card prices. We're going to see that throughout the video today. But there's a lot of other things happening in the secondary market as well. Quickly before we get into it though, just a fast reminder, if you go to FlipsideGaming.com, you can use the Heroes promo code to save 10% on orders over $10. Currently, you can pre-order Innistrad Midnight Hunt products there. They also have a whole lot of other things on their website. Remember, if your order is over $100 or it consists only of singles, shipping will be free in the United States. Also, when you do use the promo code, it supports the channel, which is always appreciated, so thank you. And without any further ado, let's get into it. Let's begin with the Standard Legal Spotlight. This is where we look at cards that are Standard Legal moving the most this week, and we do have a $2 threshold in the video, so we're not going to talk about anything unless it's moving at least $2 up or down. And let's see what's happening in the world of Standard, first with a card that is going down in value. And that card is Chilean Teller of Tales from the list, only there during Zendikar Rising, and you might remember this card was being manipulated very heavily not too long ago. As a matter of fact, we didn't even cover this card because the prices were just so out of whack. They're still kind of out of whack. This week it goes down $11.49 to $26.16. Still, that price is inflated, but at least it's starting to come back down to normal. When it comes to true gameplay, of course, this is rotating out of Standard. Didn't really see any recent Standard play or anything, but it is a very popular commander, and it's in the 99 of a number of different decks too. Our first card going up is Terror of the Peaks. Now, this is also rotating out of Standard very soon. However, much like the previous card, it hasn't seen a lot of recent play in the format. This price is being driven more by another format, and that is Commander. This is going up $2.86 this week to $28.03, and this is a huge Commander card, great combo enabler there. It is a dragon, and we know that the Dragon Tribe did get a push in that format because of Adventures in the Forgotten Realms. As a matter of fact, this is a good upgrade to the Draconic Rage Commander deck. Also, it's in fresh builds around cards from there, Verandis Rage of Ancients, as well as Cloth Unrivaled Ancient. Plus, it's in Delina Wild Mage decks. That's another card that's from the main set. And additionally, this can be good with some token creation, and we have seen that Midnight Hunt is bringing a number of cards that create tokens. Here's just a few examples on the screen now. As you can see, there's cards that make a variety of different types of token creatures. The one in the middle top part there is a transform card, so you see the front side and the back side. Also, just a quick note, the last two cards cannot be found in the draft booster packs. Visions of Glory can only be found in set boosters or collector boosters. That's a new thing they're doing this time where they have a few cards that are tailored to Commander, cards that maybe would fit really well into the Commander precons that you can only find in one of those two packs. In the last card there, Will Help the Rock Cleaver, that is actually the forward-facing Commander for the Undead Unleashed Commander deck. This next card is also a dragon, but this one is not leaving Standard, and it has seen some Standard play this past season. This is Goldspan Dragon. It goes up 312 to 4514. Now, over the last few months, you have seen this in decks in the Standard environment, like Prismari Midrange, Jeskai Tempo, Is It Control, and Pioneer this is in Is It Dragons? And of course, it also sees a lot more Commander play now because of Adventures in the Forgotten Realms. This is another good upgrade to Draconic Rage. I've seen this in fresh builds around Wolfgar of Icewind Dale. It's a good upgrade to another very popular Commander precon from there, and that is Planar Portal. Also seen this in fresh builds around Prosper Tomebound, another very popular build-around card that came out of that deck. And of course, it's in dragon builds like the Ur-Dragon or Tiamat. Additionally, this is in Kalain Reclusive Painter decks as well. That's a card from the main set. And finally, we have Brazen Borrower. This is the copy from the list, though, only there during Zendikar Rising again. It goes up in theory $11.69 this week to $55.75. Now, last week this lost a lot of value. This week it rebounds and then some. However, I do contend that this price is still inflated. I wouldn't spend this for the card. Although it does feel like people value this card a little bit closer to the showcase copy of the card because it does look like the showcase copy, as opposed to your normal card from the list. With that being said, however, I'm sure if you shop around, you can find this a lot cheaper than the price you see on the screen. There's just not a lot of copies for sale online right now, which is what's pushing this price point and inflating it. Now, this did see a lot of Standard play, but it is going to be rotating out of Standard very soon. Plus, there is a copy of this in the Azorius Spirits Pioneer Challenger deck that's coming next year. And there's going to be a copy of this in an upcoming secret layer called Math is for Blockers. You'll be able to pick that up in either foil or non-foil if you chose to. Pioneer, you're going to find this in Is It Phoenix and more. Modern, it's in Living End, Crashing Footfalls and more there. Also gets a little Legacy and Commander play too. And that takes us to the Pioneer Legal Spotlight. Let's look at some cards going down in value first. We have Sliver Hivelord, the copy from Mystery Booster. It goes down to 11 to 1971. So a couple of things are going on here. First off, Wizards did release some more boxes of convention Mystery Boosters to local game stores. So there's more copies of this in circulation. Also, this is being reprinted in another upcoming secret layer. You can pick it up in the Artist Series Thomas Boxa secret layer. Again, it can come in foil or non-foil. And when it comes to gameplay, it's a good card, obviously, for Commander Sliver builds. Sometimes it's even used as a commander. Steam Vents, this is the original one from Guild Pack. This was spiking last week, retracts this week down 237 to 37.10. Now, last week I said I was surprised that this card was spiking because all the Shocklands just got reprinted in the Culture Shock secret layers. Plus, we got news that they're going to be reprinted again next year. They're going to be in Unfinity, the next unset next year, and they're going to be presented as full art space-themed lands. With that being said, like most shocks, this is going to see play in Pioneer, Modern, Commander, and many builds old and new there. And here's another original Shockland going down in value. We have Sacred Foundry from Ravnica, City of Guilds. It goes down 271 this week to 2566. Here's another land losing some value. It is Spire Bluff Canal down 290 to 2362. Now, this got really hot when players were building new Modern decks after Modern Horizons 2 came out and shook up the format. However, after reaching the peak not too long ago, it has been going down in value gradually. With that being said, though, the card does see a lot of play. In Pioneer, it's in Is It Phoenix and Is It Dragons. Modern, it's in Is It Tempo, Living End, Blitz, Grixis, Luris, and more. Also, this is a good Commander mana-based card and a lot of builds there. Dragonlord Kulligan. Now, this one is going up in value. It's up $2.29 to $12, and it's another dragon, of course. In Commander, that last ability isn't all that great, but you know what is great? Giving all other creatures you control haste. This is found in those Commander Dragon tribal decks like the Ur-Dragon, Tiamat, and more. And now we have a Shockland going up in value. Go figure. Breeding Pool from Dissension is up $2.50 to $39.97, although for the reasons I mentioned earlier, I do think this will come down pretty quickly. Here we go, Arlen Cord. This is up $4.54 this week to $10. And sure, this isn't a Pioneer deck. You'll find this in a Gruul Legendary Creature Zoo deck there, but that's not why it's moving like this right now. Obviously, it is moving because of the Innistrad Midnight Hunt previews, and the big focus we're seeing, of course, on Werewolves. So there is a chance that maybe we will see a Werewolf deck in Pioneer, maybe even Modern if they're powerful enough. Time will tell. But you know, regardless of all that, you're going to see more Werewolves being played in Commander. Now, this currently does see play in those type of builds there. The most famous is Ulrich of the Krellin Horde, and there's going to be more on that card in just a few moments. However, let's quickly take a look at some examples of these Werewolves that they have been previewing. First, we do have a new Arlen Planeswalker. This is Arlen the Pack's Hope. You can see both sides of the card there. Then you have a new Legendary Werewolf in Gruul colors that could be a commander in the future. That is Tovolar Dire Overlord. And now on the screen you see some more Transform Werewolves that have been shown so far. They have shown more than this, but I thought I would just give you 4 examples here. And the set is also bringing us Wolves, remember, that can also fit into these builds. And finally in this section, I just teased this card, but it is Ulrich of the Krellin Horde. This is going up $8.95 this week to $11.79 for all the reasons I just mentioned. And now it is time for the Modern Legal Spotlight. Again, let's look at some cards going down in value first. Aether Vial from Darksteel, the original. It goes down $5.02 this week to $49.99. Now, this spiked as players were trying to solve the new Modern meta post-Modern Horizons 2. Now that the dust has settled, though, maybe this card is not seeing as much play as some anticipated. And that is why this original copy is soft. Now, with that being said, it still sees play in Modern. Death and Taxes, Spirits, Humans, Merfolk, and more. In Legacy, it's in Death and Taxes, Goblins, Esper Vial. Gets a little Commander play too. But don't sleep on this card because I do think it has potential for the future. Pay attention this week to the Innistrad Midnight Hunt previews that focus on Humans and Spirits. There could be cards to enhance those tribes, and here's a few examples. First off, we have Sigarda, Champion of Light, and even though this is not a human, it's an angel, it does support humans, as you can see. And then we have the front-facing commander for the Coven Counters Commander deck. That's Lenore Autumn Sovereign. And that deck is going to have a lot of humans in it, so we'll have to see what that looks like. Next, you can see a number of monocolor humans that have been previewed that do a number of things. And we have some humans that turn into spirits. I thought this was actually pretty interesting. On the top, you see the front side of the cards. On the bottom, you see the back. I am very interested to see where this goes over the next number of days. Cavern of Souls, the one from Modern Masters 2017. Now, there's another copy of this card going up in value. You will see it later in the video, but this is down 521 this week to 92.07. This did join the list with Kjell time. It is still currently there, but we haven't seen the update yet for Innistrad Midnight Hunt. Now, when it comes to gameplay, this sees a ton of play. Modern, 5-color elementals, Amulet Titan, Eldrazi-tron, spirits, humans, merfolk, goblins. Also, this gets legacy play, a little vintage play, and it is a highly played commander card. It's in a lot of these dragon builds that we've been discussing recently, one of them being Tiamat. And this is another card you don't want to sleep on because we've seen a lot of tribal support coming from these Innistrad Midnight Hunt previews. Now, we've discussed that a lot already in the video, but there are some things we haven't talked about yet. Coven Counters, of course, one of the new commander decks. Like I said, that's going to be focused on humans. The other one, Undead Unleashed, that's going to be focused on zombies. Plus, remember the next Innistrad set, which comes out just a few weeks after this first one, that one's called Crimson Vow, and they have two commander decks coming out, Spirit Squadron, as well as Vampiric Bloodlines. So again, we know that vampires are going to play a big role in that main set as well, but they have already shown a few vampires in this first set, although they're not going to be the main focus, they've said. And we have seen some other zombies too, like we haven't talked about this yet this week. Champion of the Perished could really push a zombie deck. Sword of Feast and Famine. Now, this is the copy from the Modern event deck. It spiked a couple weeks ago, retracts down this week. It is down 574 to 6836. This has been a popular commander card for a long time. It is getting more play now as an upgrade to Aura of Courage, one of those newer commander decks. Also, it's in fresh builds around a card from there, Galia, Kindler of Hope. And it has seen some additional commander play in Xanathar Guild Kingpin recently, too. Chalice of the Void from Masters 25. This spiked pretty aggressively a couple weeks ago. Since then, it has been retracting. This week, it is down 883 to 79.95. There is another copy of this going up in value, though, which you're going to see in just a few moments. Now, remember, this got hot not too long ago because of Modern Horizons 2 shaking up that Modern meta. Lands, as well as sideboard cards especially, were in demand because they crossed over into a lot of different builds, and you did have players scrambling to put together new decks or upgrade old ones. With that in mind, this is still a popular sideboard option in this new Modern meta. Plus, it gets legacy, vintage, and a little commander play. And the last card going down in value is Aboro, Palace in the Clouds. This has been spiking pretty aggressively recently. This week, though, it's down 1059 to 79.50. Not too surprising to see this kind of retraction after big spikes. But remember, we found out that we're going back to Kamigawa next year in Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. There is a chance that maybe Wizards will do some kind of Kamigawa block reprint subset. If that's the case, this would be a prime candidate to get a reprint. When it comes to gameplay, it has been seeing more gameplay recently in the Modern mill builds. It's also in Merfolk there, and it does see some commander play too. First card going up in this section happens to be a Shadowmoor rare that's yet to be reprinted. This is Greater Oromancy. It's up 386 to 83.85. And I think it's time. I gotta use my one per video before it's too late. But yes, this came out during a time period in Magic when there was a recession in the game, less packs were cracked, which means some of these rares, if they have yet to be reprinted, they can get a little spiky when people pay attention to them. So why are people paying attention to this? Well, sometimes you'll find this in Modern Enchantress. It's also very good in enchantment-heavy commander builds. And remember, curses are coming back in Innistrad Midnight Hunt. Here's just one example of a curse they've shown so far, and that's Curse of Leeches. Next, we have Torpor Orb. This is going up 525 this week to 19.99. This is another solid Modern sideboard card. It's also colorless, like Chalice of the Void, so it fits into a lot of different builds. It's decent against Archon of Cruelty, which has been seeing more play recently in the format. Also, it's good against the Evoke Elemental cycle for Modern Horizons 2. You can find a good amount of those in the 5-color Elementals builds, among other places. And there's plenty of other cards in 5-color Elementals that this disrupts. Ultimately, there's a lot of reasons to play this in Modern, and you do find this in decks like Jund, Hardened Scales, Eldrazi-tron, and much more. This also might be somewhat of a reaction to Champion of the Perished, which we looked at just a few moments ago. Additionally, this continues to get a good amount of legacy play. It is even seeing some more play in Commander. Some players have picked this up as an upgrade to Aura of Courage. Others are putting this in fresh builds around Galia, Kindler of Hope, and I have seen this in some Oswald Fiddlebender builds too. Fracturing Gust from Shadowmoor. Now, this was recently reprinted in the Showcase Strixhaven Secret Lair, but I guess nobody bothered to tell this copy. It is up $5.41 this week to $20.50. It is another good modern sideboard card. It's in Azorius Control and more there. This is useful against Urza Saga, which is in a lot of builds in the format. Plus, it's good against decks like Enchantress, as well as anything leaning harder on artifacts like Hammer Time, for example. Gets a little commander play as well. Flusterstorm Iconic Masters is up $4.95 to $29.99. Commander goes up $6.04 this week to $36.99. This did become modern legal when Modern Horizons came out. This was the buy a box promo for that set. And it has been seeing a good amount of sideboard play in this new modern meta as well. It's in Is It Tempo and much more in the format. This also continues to see a lot of legacy and vintage play, and I talked at length last week about how this is a good commander card too, especially in competitive commander. Lurgoyf, now this is the foil only copy that comes in Deckmasters Garfield vs. Finkel. It goes up $6.99 this week to $25. Over the last few weeks there has been some talk about early foils like this on one of the MTG Finance message boards, and it did push some attention to this card as well as a few others, but this is the one that's really moving right now. It's just hard to find online in good condition. It does get a little commander play, but not a ton of play, really. Speaking of cards just drying up in the secondary market online, here's Relentless Assault, but it is the Portal Second Age copy. The other copies aren't spiking like this, just this one. It goes up $10.67 to $19.41. Again, that price is probably inflated right now because of the lack of copies for sale, but it's still a pretty good card. Let's talk about the gameplay real quick. It is another good upgrade to Draconic Rage. It's also in fresh builds around Wolfgar of Icewind Dale, and it shows up in another new build, Delina Wild Mage. And the last card in this section is Huntmaster of the Fells, moving for the same reasons we mentioned earlier. It's up $19.22 to $29.98 this week. Currently, this is already in a lot of the Ulrich of the Krullen Horde builds in Commander. I am anticipating to see this card more in Commander in the future, and who knows, maybe even more in Modern. Alright, that takes us to the Vintage Spotlight. This is where we talk about cards that see play in Vintage, Legacy, 93, 94, or cards that are just popular among collectors. Remember, there can be market manipulation when you're looking at some of these older cards that are hard to find in good condition online, but I will tell you, I'm seeing a lot less of that now compared to a few months ago, which is good news. The biggest point of contention, and I think the most confusing thing when it comes to prices around some of these older cards, especially the more iconic ones, is the fact that more players are getting their cards graded. So sometimes when you look at your price tracking websites, the price you see is really falling between the price of a high grade raw and a high grade graded copy. And the prices you're going to see in this section are very reminiscent of what you might see on a price tracking website. However, if something isn't lining up with true sales, I will point that out to you. First, we have Nightmare from Unlimited. It goes up $11.36 this week to $46.05. Fungasaur, also from Unlimited, up $12.63 to $68. Hercule's Recall from Antiquities up $13.41 to $152.94. Scrubland from Revised is up $14.62 to $379.20. Underground Sea from Revised up $16.36 to $968.39. Living Lands from Unlimited up $17.95 to $74.50. Merchant Ship, this is going up $21.84 to $175.08. Lich from Unlimited up $22.73 this week to $229.99. Berserk, a lot of Unlimited cards are hot this week. This is another one from that set, up $24.85 to $224.12. Lady Evangela, this is up $26.22 to $126.22. Lord of Atlantis, again from Unlimited, up $27.41 to $102.27. Wrath of God, this is another Unlimited card, up $35.42 to $159.99. Mox Diamond from Stronghold, up $36.85 to $649.99. This is in Legacy Lands, Knight of the Reliquary, and more. Also gets a good amount of commander play, including in a new build, Xanathar Guild Kingpin. Plus, this did get a Command Zone podcast mention this week as well, which could have brought some more attention to it. Old Man of the Sea is up $43.90 this week to $489.26. Mishra's Factory. Now, this is the winter variant copy from Antiquities, the one you see on the screen. It goes up $63.68 to $647.48. Tropical Island, the revised copy, up $31.12 to $786.60. The unlimited copy up $174.50 to $1,380. I will tell you this, though, when it comes to the unlimited copy, I have seen high-grade raw copies sell for about $12.50. High-grade graded copies can go for more than this price that you see on the screen. One recently sold for about $1,800. Volcanic Island from Unlimited is up $184.01 to $1,990. Force Field from Unlimited up $186.46 to $790.48. When it comes to high-grade raw copies, I have seen them sell for about $4.80. I have not seen a high-grade graded copy sell in a little while. Stands to reason it could get around this price point if one was to sell. And finally for the section we have Moat going up $200 to $2,150. And that takes us to the Commander Spotlight. Now in this section, the key driver for most of these cards is Commander. There is a few exceptions though. Modern is still playing a big role for certain cards. You'll see that as we go through. But this is kind of like the best of the rest in this section. So let's see what's happening. Master of the Wild Hunt. This is the copy from Magic 2010. It goes up 202 this week to 1052. Now this is in some Ulrich Commander builds, but it's also in builds around a newer card, Varus Silvery Moon Ranger. Obviously this is getting more attention now due to the wolf support we discussed in Midnight Hunt. Death Coil Worm up 207 to 1599. This is yet to be reprinted and it is a little dry online right now. This tends to be pretty cyclic though, moving up and then moving back down when more copies are added online. It does get a tad bit of Commander play. Fire and Ice, the copy from Apocalypse up $2.15 to $5. This does get a little Commander play, but Modern is moving this more than anything right now. It's in Crashing Footfalls, Is It Control, Scape Shift, and more. Gets a little Legacy play too. Elvish Piper, this 9th edition copy is a little dry online this week. It's going up $2.17 to $13.89. Solid Commander card. It's in a number of builds. Sometimes you'll find this in Dragon Tribal decks there too, like Tiamat. Demonic Tutor, this is the one from Dual Decks Anthology. This has been reprinted a lot, even recently, but this copy is still up $2.24 this week to $48.17. Great vintage card and great Commander card. It's in a lot of builds there, old and new. Also, it got a Command Zone podcast mention this week too. Academy Rector, very solid Commander card and enchantment heavy builds. It is up $2.27 this week to $122.39. Insurrection, the copy from Onslaught, is up $2.41 to $17.39. This does have a high casting cost, but it is an effective card in many Commander decks. Okagachi Vengeful Kami, this is going up $2.42 to $15.50. It only comes in foil. Now first it did get a push in Commander due to the Dragon Tribal support in Adventures in the Forgotten Realms. And you do see this in Commander builds like the Ur Dragon and Tiamat, for example. But this is a fairly popular Commander too, and it is a Spirit as well as a Dragon. We already talked about how Innistrad is bringing Spirit support, but remember next year we are going back to Kamigawa as well. I'm sure we're going to see Spirits in that set, Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. We already mentioned the Pioneer Azoria Spirit Challenger deck. Now, of course, this is not Pioneer legal, but reprinting some of these key Spirits could get people more interested in playing them in Commander with this. Overall, this is a card you want to keep an eye on, but I do feel like it is overdue for a reprint. Devoted Caretaker. Now, this does get a little Commander play, but this is another card that is dry online right now. It goes up $2.45 to $5.50. Sensei's Divining Top from Eternal Master is up $2.58 to $62.05. This does get a good amount of vintage and a lot of Commander play in builds old and new. Plus, it did get a Command Zone podcast mention this week. Pyrohemia from Commander, it's up $2.64 to $12.74. This is a good upgrade to Draconic Rage, and it's in fresh builds around a card from there, Verandis Rage of Ancients. And additionally, I have been seeing this get more Commander play around another new card from the main set, Salto Fire Giant Duke. Here's that other copy of Cavern of Souls I mentioned. It is the one from Ultimate Masters, going up $2.75 this week to $114.99. Blood Moon. This card's been hot recently. This 8th edition copy still creeping up a little bit, up $2.76 to $23.21. It does get a good amount of Commander play in various builds, but I do think Modern is pushing this card more than anything right now. It is showing up in main decks as well as sideboards of a lot of different builds there. Crashing Footfalls, Is It Tempo, Gruul Midrange, Goblin Charbelcher, Mono Red Aggro, Enchantress, Blitz, and more. This also continues to see a lot of legacy and a little vintage play, and it did get a Command Zone podcast mention this week too. Ink Eyes, Servant of Oni. This goes up $2.77 to $19.38, and this is the Plane Chase Anthology copy of the card. A little bit harder to find in good condition. Now, this is originally from Betrayers of Kamigawa. It is a fairly popular commander, and it's in the 99 of other builds too, like Yuriko the Tiger's Shadow. This week there was a Tolarian Community College video where the professor speculated that ninjutsu could return in Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. Coat of Arms, the 8th edition copy, creeping up $2.89 to $19.99. Very popular Commander Tribal card. This is the only copy moving like this, but it could be an early indicator that players are thinking about some of the cards we've talked about today when it comes to upcoming Commander Tribal builds. Soldevi Excavations. Now this sees a tad bit of commander play, but really I think the main reason it's moving is because of its status on the reserve list. It goes up $2.97 this week to $29.49. The original Lorwyn copy of Cryptic Command is up $3.05 to $33.75. Solid commander card, seeing more play now in Min Wily Illusionist builds. This is also in modern control decks and more there. No Mercy from Urza's Legacy. It goes up $3.07 to $48.59. Good commander card. I have seen this occasionally added to Planar Portal or in fresh builds or on Prosper Tomebound. Avacyn Angel of Hope, the Double Masters copy up $2.04 to $40. The Avacyn Restored copy is up $3.18 to $42.74. Now, this does get a lot of commander play in decks like Kali of the Vast, for example. We know that Avacyn isn't supposed to be in the storyline of Innistrad Midnight Hunt. Wizards did mention that. However, we did see a pretty decent Angel earlier, and we also got this card previewed. Avacyn's Memorial. This is another one of those cards that you can only find in set boosters or collector boosters. This alone just could have got more people thinking about Avacyn as a character. Wrenn and 6, this is the copy from the list. It was there through Cal time, up $3.24 this week to $133.21, although I do think that price is a little inflated. Now, Wizards recently announced that we would be getting Double Masters 2022 next year, and when they did, they showed the artwork for this card, so it looks like we're getting a reprint there. However, this still sees a lot of play in Modern. It's in Indomitable Creativity, Jund builds, Scapeshift, Naya Renegade Rallier, 4-color Transmogrify, Niv to Light, and more. It is banned in Legacy, but it does see some Vintage and Commander play. And this card did get hot recently due to an early Innistrad Midnight Hunt preview, and that was Wrenn and 7. Even if this card only propels Wrenn and 6 to see more play in Commander, it will put more demand on the card. Survival of the Fittest from Exodus up $3.24 to $269.99. Small percentage increase for this reserve list card, but it is moving up after some recent losses. It's found in a number of different Commander builds. Natural Order. This is the Strixhaven Mystical Archive copy up $3.38 this week to $15.01. You'll find this in Legacy Elves. Also a solid commander card in many builds. Burgeoning Conspiracy Take the Crown up $2.71 to $28.97. Commander 2016 up $3.43 to $29.72. Here's another card that may be getting a push from Wrenn and 7. It is another good commander card, perhaps poised to see more play in the future. Mayor of Averbrook. Okay, I was really thinking really hard, why is this card going up $3.55 this week to $7.80? And then I remembered Werewolves. Of course, this is another card being pushed because of those Innistrad Midnight Hunt previews we talked about. Currently, you'll already find this in Ulrich of the Krellin Horde builds in Commander. Here's that other copy of Chalice of the Void I mentioned earlier. The copy from Mirrodin is up $3.82 this week to $77.97. Ramos Dragon Engine from Commander 2017. This copy is only in foil. Another good dragon for the Dragon or Tiamat builds, for example, in Commander. It's also a popular commander, too. It goes up $3.87 to $19.82 this week. Sliver Queen. Now, this is the Sliver Lord that is on the reserve list. It's up $4.55 this week to $376.26. But this card has lost a lot of value. Maybe this is the start of it beginning to climb back up. You'll find this one in Commander Sliver decks. Sometimes it is the commander. Season of the Witch. Now, this does see a tad bit of commander play, but it is a reserve list card from the Dark, and I do think that's why it's moving this week. There's a few other cards in just a moment you're going to see that fall under that same category, and I do think it's a situation where some of these cards spiked pretty aggressively not too long ago. They've been trending down, and I think when they get to a certain point, some people start to go back and pick them up when they're cheaper, and then you see these little jumps. This one's going up $4.63 this week to $49.99. Lelia the Blade Reforged. This card remains hot this week at $4.81 to $9.71. This is a good upgrade to two of the adventures in the Forgotten Realms Commander decks. Planar Portal. As a matter of fact, I saw this used as an upgrade in a recent Extra Turns episode of the Command Zone podcast. And the other deck is Draconic Rage. On top of that, many players are adding this to fresh builds around cards from those decks. Prosper Tomebound, Wolfgar Icewind Dale. Additionally, this is getting more commander play and builds around another new card from the main set. That is Targnar Demon Fang Null. Now, the other thing to point out here is that this is a spirit. Traditionally, Innistrad spirits are either white and or blue, but having the additional spirit support from those sets, as well as anything that could be coming in the future that we talked about, that alone could bring some speculation to this card, at least for Commander, if nothing else. Edgar Markov from Commander 2017, only found in foil. It goes up $4.86 this week to $61.20. So, okay, they are releasing a reprint of this card finally, but it's a judge foil, so there's not going to be all that many copies of it getting to the marketplace. Now, I do think we'll see a broader reprint of this probably sooner than later, but for right now, this card is still going up in value. This is a very popular Vampire Tribal Commander, and of course we've already seen some Vampires previewed from Innistrad Midnight Hunt, but the big Vampire attraction is going to be Crimson Vow. There is speculation that Edgar is going to be the character that marries Olivia. Volrath Stronghold, this is on the reserve list, but it is a solid commander card in a number of builds. It goes up $4.93 this week to $125.97. Here's another one of those reserve list cards from the Dark Knights of Thorn, up $5.06 this week to $23.29. Armageddon from 6th edition. Now this is another example where this particular copy dried up online this week. It goes up $6.48 to $13.49. And this does get some commander play in various builds. Yet another reserve list card from the Dark. This is Preacher. It's up $8.93 this week to $94.99. Metalworker, it's up $10.07 to $173.84. Now, this does see some increased commander play now in Oswald Fiddlebender builds at times, but there was an Alpha Investments video just about this card. Obviously, that could have brought a lot of attention to it. Well of Knowledge, another reserve list card. This one feels like it could be the target of a buyout. It goes up quite a bit this week, $11.04 to $18.95. I will say this, though. It does see a tad bit of commander play, sometimes in Group Hug or Pillow Fort style decks. And that takes us to the Premium Spotlight. We have 3 cards to talk about this week. I don't like to spend time talking about cards that are just being maybe bought out or perhaps drying up in the marketplace. I try to look for things that feel like their movement is more natural. But like I say every week, there's tons of activity in the premium market. We can't possibly cover it all. There's also a lot of market manipulation, so be careful. But anyway, in this section, the price you're going to see on the screen is very similar to what you might see on a price tracking website, kind of like in the Vintage Spotlight section. But if something doesn't quite match up with the sales I'm seeing, I will let you know. This isn't moving all that much percentage-wise, but I thought it was worth noting. Mox Diamond from the Vault Relics, it's going up $11.95 this week to $8.50. I can't believe this card got so expensive. Torpor Orb, the foil from New Phyrexia, is up $16.55 to $129.39. Now, when it comes to true sales, I have seen raw copies break $90. This higher price, though, is most likely due to sellers trying to stay ahead of the spike. That's when they price a card higher than it really should go for because they're afraid that within a day or two it could get to this point, but they typically will accept a fair offer on the card. And finally, I had to put one of our werewolves on here, Ulrich of the Krellin Horde. The pre-release foil is up $16.40 to $34.99. The Eldritch Moon foil is up $26.45 to $44.58. Now, when it comes to true sales, I've only seen one copy sell since the spike. That was an Eldritch Moon foil, and it went for $35. Even though that is not $44.58 like you see on the screen, I would anticipate both of these foils to continue to climb because of the popularity of this card right now. Alright, with that being said, that does it for this episode of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. If you stuck with me to the end, I appreciate you. Thanks for being here. As always, thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible through the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.